All right, here we go. All right, what's going on? So, we're going to be talking today about finding the right strength coach. But before we get into the show, as always, I want to have a quick chat about what it is we are here to do. And guys, the goal of this show, as it always is to help athletes reach their true potential, help athletes build their dream careers in sports. So we talk about mindset stuff, we talk about training, we talk about, training myths, things that people are doing wrong, things that you need to fix if you want to get to the next level. Approach to training, so many more things when it comes to the work that you need to do in order to actually achieve your goals in the sport that you have chosen. Today, we are talking about picking the right strength coach, and we are going to get right into it. So let's go in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the #1 show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we are talking about picking the right strength coach. But before we get into that, on August 13th, I'm going to be running a masterclass about setting up a proper training week. So what needs to go into properly setting up that week, how you can optimize your training. So if this is something that you're interested in, as soon as you hear this, make sure to send me a DM on social media, whether that's TikTok or Instagram. The links to both will be in the show notes below. So make sure you check that out and you send me a DM if you are interested in the information on this masterclass, and I will be in touch to deliver you all the information that you need. So let's get into picking the right strength coach. Now, why did I decide to go into this one today? The big thing that I need you guys to understand when we're going into this episode is that a strength coach, honestly, can be make or break to an athlete's career. And no, I'm not on a horse right now for the person on TikTok asking that. But a strength coach can be make or break for an athlete's career. And we're going to dig into exactly how, exactly why. But first, let's talk about a little story about one of my athletes that recently started out with me. This guy is a high-level fighter. He's got 16 pro fights. And he was talking about, in his first session working with me, he was talking about how he's worked with strength coaches in the past, and he was nervous about signing up with me because of the coaches that he's worked with before. So I asked why, and he said the reason that he was nervous about signing up with me is because the coaches that he's worked with before were more interested in basically beating him into the ground than they were actually helping him perform. He'd come to them with an injury or something like that, and they basically wouldn't adapt anything, and they'd just be like, okay, man, keep going, keep working. You got to fight in 6 weeks. It doesn't matter that you're injured, keep pushing. And every session was just, how do we make this harder? How do we push you more? How do we, push you to the limit and get you to keep going? And he said a lot of the time these coaches would use justifications for that. Like they would say, well, you need to be used to being tired because you're going to be tired within the fight. So you need to learn how to fight tired if you're going to succeed. And on the surface, I understand that mentality of, learning to fight tired because, yeah, you're going to be tired while you fight. That's just going to happen. But the mentality of we need to train you to the point that you're exhausted so that you understand how to fight tired is extremely flawed for a lot of reasons. Number one is that the goal is not for you to be fighting tired. The goal is for you to be fighting as fresh as possible. So you need to work towards keeping yourself as fresh as possible. And number two is that the goal is also not based off of that statement too, the goal not being to fight tired. Instead of learning to fight tired, learn how to recover faster so that when you do tire out, you recover from it faster and you're able to fight fresher. And the other thing too is, guys, if you are a combat athlete, you know this already. If you're not a combat athlete, then I want you to understand this. You guys are training at a very high level all the way through your week. You're doing a lot already. So every session should not be at 100%. And the reason every session shouldn't be at 100% is because, again, the goal is to help you. The goal is not to burn you the fuck out and then when you're at your absolute worst, send you into the octagon or send you into the ring to fight. So learning to balance that is the real key. And with this athlete specifically, he talked about, these past coaches that he's worked with and how there was no balance whatsoever. Like he had it in his head that the days with his strength coach were going to be hell. And that was that. Like the way they trained, it was just hell. That's how it worked. It was just hell when he had his strength sessions because that was the focus of those sessions. It was make it as hard as possible all the time. So he did the first session with me and he was like, oh my God, this feels like exactly what I need. And the reason that made me so happy to hear and the reason that it felt like exactly what he needed is because, like I said, this dude's got 16 pro fights. He's in shape. I don't have to get this guy in shape. I need to refine some things and then make sure he's in fight shape. Those are two very different things. So when it comes to working with an athlete, I understand that he's training hard already. He doesn't need me to push him to his limit. And don't get me wrong, we're going to work hard because every time I talk about not pushing yourself to your limit in every single session, I have people commenting on things, saying shit like, oh, this guy's telling us not to work hard. No, you're going to work hard. You're going to push yourself. You're going to have times where you feel like you reach your limit. But if you're doing MMA work 5 times a week or jiu-jitsu work or boxing or whatever sport you're training for 5-6 days a week, you don't need 3 extra sessions pushing you to your absolute limit every single week because you're doing that a lot through your week already. Does that make sense? So again, the goal is helping the athlete perform, not pushing the athlete beyond their absolute limit every single time they have a session. So with this athlete, we talked a lot about, finding the proper coach and why this was feeling like exactly what he needed. And it got me thinking, a lot of you are probably with coaches like these guys right now. And so I want you to think before you continue to see these coaches. I want you to think, is this training actually addressing the needs that I have, or is it just really fucking hard? And I get it. If you're a fighter, you like pushing yourself. You want those sessions that are really fucking hard. But you've got to ask yourself, is my goal to show everyone how fucking hard I work and how tough I am, or is my goal to win fights? So I'm going to say that one more time. You've got to ask yourself, is my goal to show everyone how hard I work or how tough I am, or is my goal to win fucking fights? Because if your goal is to win fights, then you need your individual needs addressed within your program. If you're dealing with a shoulder injury, you need to work on that shoulder injury. If you're dealing with bad knees, you need to work on the bad knees so that your body is functioning properly when the night of the fight actually comes through. So don't fall under this impression that the harder I work, the better every single session. Hard work is a crucial part of it, but addressing the individual needs of the athlete is way more important. And that doesn't mean pushing you to your limit every single time you step into the gym. That means managing the intense sessions with the lighter sessions to help your body function at the highest possible level so that you can perform at your best. And if that is the focus of your strength and conditioning program, you are going to win long term. If the focus is, man, I work fucking harder than everybody every single day, then yeah, that might hold you for a while and you're going to feel good stroking the ego and telling everyone how much tougher you are than they are. But when your fucking body breaks down by the time you're 27 years old and you're not able to fight at the highest level because you've burnt yourself out, I told you so. That's all I'm going to say. Now, the big thing when it comes to this is understand what athletes need to succeed. So if you're an athlete listening to this, understand what you need to succeed. Yes, you need a work ethic. You need a skill set. And building your skill set doesn't mean being at 100% all the time. And when it comes to the conditioning work, you need strength, you need power, you need speed, you need the ability to repeat fast, explosive efforts for the duration of your fight. And you need health. Your body needs to be healthy. The joints need to be functioning well together. If your joints aren't functioning well together, your muscles aren't functioning well together, I don't care how good your skill set is, that's not going to hold you for a long time. So when you're looking at your strength and conditioning work, it needs to be addressing all of these things. Your program, when it comes to strength and conditioning, needs to be addressing strength, power, speed, and repeatability to be able to repeat high intensity explosive efforts for the duration that you're going to be competing. And when you think about these 2 hour long crazy circuits that some coaches are putting their athletes through, you're not actually addressing any of these things. All you're doing is making them sweat. All you're doing is making them work hard, which, like, they're already doing that. They don't need to do that 3 to 4 more times per week. They need their body functioning well to be able to take the impact that the sport is going to put on them. So when it comes to actually finding the proper coaches, when it comes to actually finding, the coach that's going to address these needs, what I want you guys to take away from my athlete's story is you need to put some effort into finding a coach. You need to put some effort into actually figuring out if this is going to be the right coach for you. So the first thing is understand what you actually need. So in the case of this athlete, what he told me was he's honestly looking more for maintenance of his body than he is for like high intensity conditioning. Because he said he fights 5-round fights. And he said, I'm good to fight 5-round fights. Like, my gas is good. I never have any trouble with it. I've usually, got good strength on my opponents. Like, I don't have any real big physical struggle. So I just need my body to stay functioning at a high level. And so with taking that into account, what do you think our sessions look like? Yeah, we're still going to do some conditioning work. I'm not going to let him get off without any pushing himself or anything like that. But the sessions are really focused. The sessions are making sure that, the body's functioning well. He's changing directions explosively. His hip and his hamstring are firing together, and we're not causing any pain in any of those movements. And if there are pain in any of those movements, we put together part of the program to address that pain and make sure we're working through it. So again, there are going to be some sessions with this guy working towards this next fight in September that he is not feeling like he works super hard, but we're going to put focus into the areas that need focus. We're going to put focus into building up the weaknesses to make sure that he is maintaining his body at a strong, healthy level so that he can step in and he can fight 5 rounds. And little things with that, and this is things to talk to your strength coaches about and see how they address as well, is if this athlete comes in and I have a hard conditioning session planned and he says, man, my knees are, feeling really busted up and my back is super sore today, I'm going to take away that hard conditioning session and we're going to address the pain in the knees and the pain in the back, right? So again, it's about adapting to the needs of the individual, not about pushing the individual to their limit in every single session. So if you're trying to find the right strength coach, talk to coaches about that kind of thing. What do your programs usually look like? What kind of things are you addressing? How do you make sure that I'm at my best every time I fight? If I come to you with an injury, what kind of stuff do you change to make sure that we're adapting and we're focusing on building back that injury? And then ask how these things are delivered. So again, how do you go about having those conversations? Because one thing that I see with a lot of coaches that, are like these coaches that my athlete was describing of just trying to push their athlete to the absolute limit every single session is you can't really communicate with them. You come to them and say, hey, I'm having some bad back pain today. And they're like, well, it's going to be a tough session, so let's fucking get to it. Like, they don't address that. They don't help fix that. They just grind you into the ground anyway. And if you're going to succeed, being able to communicate what you need to your coaches is crucial. So asking coaches questions about, how do we go about adapting the program if injuries or pains or anything like that come up are going to give you a good indication of if this person is the right person for you to work with. Now, the other thing as well is, guys, ask for recommendation. If you've got friends, if you've got teammates that have worked with strength coaches before, ask around. Like, hey, I'm looking at this strength coach online. What was your experience working with them? And if you can talk to coaches if you can talk to other athletes about that, you can get a good feeling of, is this a person that's going to address the needs that I have? Asking for recommendations from teammates, asking that coach for experiences from their athletes. If you come to me and you say, hey, I'm dealing with, hey, I'm thinking about hiring you, but I'm not sure. I would send you to a bunch of my athletes, be like, hey, you can talk to this person, this person, this person, this person about their experiences. If there's any questions I can answer for you or anything you want to know, let me know. And I'm happy to talk through anything that you need to talk through. My goal is not to sell you. My goal is to help you make a decision. If I'm not the right coach for you, cool, move on, find someone else. If you want to know information, you need to be able to talk about it. So when it comes to finding the right coaches, the thing I really need you guys to understand is they need to address your individual needs. If you're working with someone who's not addressing your individual needs, you're not working with the right person. If you're working with someone who's just interested in showing you how tough their fucking workouts are, you're not working with the right person. Training should be challenging, but training needs to also help you. One thing I always say to my athletes, and this is a good measuring stick that I feel like a lot of athletes can use, is you should be able to do my session and do sport-specific work in the same day. And if we're doing a session that crushes you to the point that you can't go to your other training session that day, then I'm not helping you. If we're doing a session that crushes you to the point where you can't go to your other training session that day, I am not doing my job. And I need you to communicate that to me so that we can adjust the intensity and you can continue to build your strength, build your power, build your speed, all the things that we do, and continue to improve your skill set by going to your other training sessions. But if all you're doing with me is crushing yourself to the point that you can't do anything else, that's not helping you become a better athlete. And ultimately, that is the goal of a strength coach. So guys, I hope that was valuable. I hope you got some good information about that from me on that. If you got some good value from that, what I want you to do is send me a DM and let me know what it was. Tell me what you were able to take away. Tell me what you learned from it, and tell me what you're going to implement when you go to try to find your own strength coach. And if you are looking to take your game to the next level, I'm currently taking on 3 more athletes. So shoot me a DM. I'd be happy to have a conversation and see if we're a good fit to work together. And if not, just send you on your way with the proper game plan of how you can take your conditioning to the next level. So that is it. That is all. I appreciate you all for tuning in. I hope you are having the best day ever. And I'll catch you all on the next episode.